Hello, beautiful. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to my channel, Beautiful I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, and I have been sharing different chapters of my book with you each week, and plan to do that on every Sunday until I get to the end of my book. And so this week, I wanted to start off with a chapter called Betrayal. Let's begin. After Marlon and I were married and I had graduated high school and moved across the country, I remember feeling so happy. Nothing in the world could stop the two of us. I was finally free of the horrible stepfather and wanted to start my life anew with the man I loved and my daughter. The first few months of our marriage were fine. We slept on the floor for a couple of weeks until our discounted furniture was delivered. We didn't have a lot, but we had each other, and to me, that's all that mattered. I would later find out that our love was not enough. Once the fall came and football season was in full swing, I can recall the phone ringing, and when I answered, someone hanging up. I also noticed Marlon taking a stronger interest in his pager, even when he was at home, despite being told at the time of purchase that it was for the two of us to communicate. I eventually got a special phone that could show who was calling. If the number was on campus, it would also show where the number was calling from. This seemed to really bother Marlon, which triggered what most folks would call instinct. I call it red flags or warnings. One day he came home from practice and immediately went to the bathroom to take a call. This was before the days of cell phones. The phone was a cordless landline phone. Shortly after the call, he left the house. Leaving the house was not uncommon. He rarely took me anywhere, and when we went out, he almost never took Caitlin and me with him. I would soon find out the reason why this was the case. All of this odd behavior of Marlon's came to a head when my suspicions were confirmed that he was cheating. After all I had been through, what did I do to deserve this? I had been nothing but faithful while we were apart. I had survived the daily looks of disgust and disapproval as I walked pregnant through the halls of our high school, clear up until the last few days before Caitlin was due. And now this, and in a new state where I had no friends and little family, I felt stuck, betrayed, humiliated, angry. I learned that I needed to feel protected and provided for. But more than anything, I needed to be able to trust. Marlon provided all those things for me initially, but it was unfair to expect him to deliver without fail on all those fronts. The subconscious desire for Marlon to fulfill all that I wished my father had been was too high of an expectation for anyone to carry. The best decision I ever made for myself was to become the most complete Evelyn that I could be, and this meant facing some hard truths about narratives I created in my own mind, narratives that weren't actually true. Are there times you created a narrative about yourself that perhaps wasn't true? Maybe it's that you are unworthy of good things or that you could never lose those last 20 pounds. I am here to tell you that self doubt can be the most destabilizing method of stagnation that one can encounter. One thing that helped me was cataloging all the things I'm thankful for, starting with something easy like thank you for my hands, thank you for my feet, which cascaded into thank you for my family, and so on. Accentuating the positive things, no matter how small you think they are, makes a world of difference. And then the writing prompt for this particular chapter is to make a list here of all the good things in your life. The next chapter is called Hitting Bottom. I came home from work knowing in my mind I had already set a date with Hatch. It's a new Mexican wine made with green chilies. I poured a nice full glass, which in turn led to the entire bottle being emptied and consumed. I sat in my bed and I began to cry. It was an end of the road sort of cry, the cry that hurt so bad you could hardly catch your breath. And although this cry was not incredibly audible, I am sure that its sound would have been one of extreme sorrow and pain. You see, as I mentioned previously, I had my mind set that I could handle things. By that, I mean all things: kids, work, school, volunteering, etc. But the truth is that I didn't have it together. and was anything but together. On the outside, it may have appeared as if I had it together, but the depth of Evelyn was almost gone. I felt her slipping away, and I didn't like that I was losing her, me. For all intents and purposes, I should have been happy. After all, Marlon and I had just purchased and renovated a house. I had also gotten a promotion, and money was flowing more freely than it had in times past. But I was miserable. For months upon months, I had been meditating on divorce. What would it be like if I went through with it? How I would survive on my own? What would the kids think? Etc. These thoughts of divorce didn't come because Marlon was or had become a terrible husband, friend, or lover. It was simply because I had convinced myself that we'd somehow grown apart. I blamed it on the fact that we got married so young and didn't really know what we were doing, and a host of other things. But the truth is that I had become so angry with myself internally that I needed, no, required to protect it, uh, to project it onto the closest person in my life. In hindsight, one could say that I was angry and detached much of the time we were in New Mexico. My whole life had been angry with my mom for not providing the safety I needed as a child. This lack of safety resulted in molestations, which occurred at the hands of multiple people before the age of 12. So at 36 years of age, there I was crying and truly sobbing in my soul over what happened to me when I was younger. I am not an extrovert, and it takes a lot for me to tell someone exactly how I'm feeling without considering their feelings. More specifically, it was a challenge for me to be assertive with people who are in certain authoritative roles in my life. The day I devoured Hatch in my bedroom, I prayed and asked God to help me get through, and I told God I did not want to be or feel this way any longer. I expressed my sorrow for not fully trusting Him and relying on myself to get through, which ultimately led to an epic failure. One thing I've learned is that the only person I'm responsible for and can control is me. Even if people, spouse included, do things that don't align with how I feel or what I think, it is not my job to help them see the big picture. As a result of this revelation, I began to make decisions solely for myself. For example, I made up my mind that I would finally go to counseling, either with or without Marlon. And you want to know the irony? I went to counseling thinking that I was going for help with my marriage, but it ended up being all about little old me. Yes, me. I was there for myself and to get myself better, which ultimately turned into getting us better. I encourage you to take care of yourself. It is not selfish to be a full and complete you. As a matter of fact, you might just be surprised how much other people will recognize the change they see in you as you begin to do the work. And at the end of this particular chapter, which was titled Hidden Bottom, the writing prompt question is, what things are you doing to take care of yourself? Describe them here and describe how these efforts help and or heal you. And that concludes the readings for this week. I'll be back next Sunday with another couple of readings to share with you from my book, Beautiful, I Am Colored, a collection of true short stories and motivational thoughts. This has been Beautiful, I Am Colored. My name is Evelyn, the author of that book, and I look forward to seeing you next week. And in the meantime, remember, the future you is waiting on you. Have a great week, everyone.